1990 was the year when In Living Color upset the long-running Saturday Night Live at the Emmys. It was also the year that gave us Oscar-winning movies like Ghost and Dances with Wolves, all while You Can't Touch This gave MC Hammer a chance to touch the coveted statue at the Grammys. But what about the Video Game Awards? If you've ever wanted to know what old-school games took home the top prizes, then you've definitely come to the right place. Today we're going to recreate Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst of 1990 award show, featuring a couple dozen categories ranging from Best Ending, to Most Lawsuits, to Best System of the Year. So let me cue up the VHS tape and introduce you to the greatest televised awards show that was never broadcast. Fade to black and cue the theme song. Live on tape from sunny Los Angeles, California, is Electronic Gaming Monthly's third annual Best and Worst Award Show. And now, as always, your host for the evening, this guy. Oh, hello and welcome to Electronic Gaming Monthly's third annual Best and Worst Award Show. My name is Cyril, and I'm honored to once again be hosting a night filled with incredible games and mostly half-assed comedy. So, I just want to start out tonight's presentation by assuring you that none of our winners are going to have their awards revoked for lip-syncing. Well, except for the worst ending in a game. I think there's probably a good case to be made against those guys. And how about that Mikhail Gorbachev guy? First he wins a Nobel Peace Prize, and then next you're going to tell me that he's going to be in the next Street Fighter game. Like there's ever going to be another Street Fighter game, am I right? Oh, tough crowd. Look, folks, I'm just here to hand out awards, not write political jokes. So instead of trolling this year's biggest newsmakers, let's do something more important, like talk video games. That's right, we're gonna talk about the best games to come out this year. Eventually. First, we need to talk about some of the stinkers you regret buying at KB Toys. Let's start out with the always fun Worst Name for a Game, which celebrates games with terrible names, obviously. This year we have two winners, Vic Tokai's confusingly titled Daedalian Opus and the horribly named Heiankyo Alien from Meldak. Come on, guys, can you honestly see a kid proclaiming to his friend with any degree of excitement that he beat Daedalian Opus? I'm not even sure I'm saying that right. Speaking of bad names, I want to draw your attention to a brand new category created just for 1990. What I'm holding in my hand right now is an envelope for the worst name for a good game. That's right, this is going to be a good game that's been stuck with a bad name. And the winner is... oh, it's Adventures of Jackie Chan, which isn't even the right name. I think the game they're thinking of is Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu, which isn't much better. But at least that's the real title. Oh man, if this is what the show is going to be like, then we're in for a long evening. On the topic of dubious awards, let's just go ahead and get this Most Lawsuits award out of the way. The winner is obviously Nintendo. They spent most of the last year or two suing pretty much everybody on the planet. They went after stores for renting games, companies for making cheat devices, and, of course, Sengen. With so many lawsuits, it sometimes feels like I'm the only guy that hasn't been sued by Nintendo. Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, because we're only 3 awards into this thing. Moving on, it's time to talk about the year's biggest controversy, which can be summed up with the category I like to call Worst Propaganda of the Year. Okay guys, you asked for it, because the winner is NEC's TurboGrafx-16 versus the Sega Genesis Card. When you ask NEC to compare the speed of their system next to Nintendo's, they give it to you in megahertz. When you ask them to compare it to the Genesis, they give it to you in MIPS. That's confusing, and it's done on purpose. Stop that. Also, stop making bad movie games. That's right, our next category is none other than Worst Movie to Game, which goes to the very deserving Total Recall from Acclaim. You win some and you lose some. With Total Recall, we all lost. Oh, there's an arrow at the bottom of this card telling me to flip it over. Oh, look at this! It's the Best Movie to Game category. There were good movie games released in 1990? Of course there were, thanks to Sunsoft's incredible Gremlins 2 game. This marks the second time they've won this category in a row. Last year, they took home the prize for Batman. Oh, I feel a sudden burst of energy from finally being able to talk about some good games. Let's keep that momentum going with the award for Best Ending in a Game, which is just kind of a formality as long as Tecmo keeps sticking Ryu Hayabusa in their games. That's right, the winner is Ninja Gaiden 2, which is really no surprise. And with Part 3 coming out in 1991, Tecmo might as well start making room for another fake trophy. You know who else should make room on their shelf? Sega, because they took home the prize for Worst Ending in a Game for Revenge of Shinobi. Sega spoiled an excellent game packed full of great play and graphics by giving us 2 endings, both of which were wimpy. Lame. But you know what wasn't lame? Bart vs. the Space Mutants on the NES. Actually, that game was kinda lame. But Electronic Gaming Monthly named The Simpsons as the best license of the year. And what about the worst license of the year? That goes to none other than Buster Douglas Boxing by Sega. EGM notes here that they loved it when Buster busted Tyson and left him on the mat. But they didn't like his chances when going up against Evander Holyfield. Guys, I'm just gonna level with you. This has something to do with sports, I think, so we're just gonna move on. Hey, you know what's exciting? The most exciting new theme of the year, of course. And that exciting theme goes to Bonk's Adventure. EGM contends that NEC took a conventional side-scrolling action theme and improved upon it by concentrating on technique as well as good looks. Wait, this is Bonk's Adventure, right? The one on the TurboGrafx? Alright, whatever you say, EGM. Bonk, the most exciting new trend. Oddly enough, NEC didn't win the Most Promising Game Companies category, which went to major hitters like Natsumi, Sega, Capcom, Konami, and Nintendo. Seriously, what could Nintendo possibly do to not be on this list every year? I mean, besides sue everybody. So here's an idea I just thought up. Why don't we give out some hardware for some hardware? That's right, it's time to talk about the best peripheral of the year, a category I've been waiting all year for. Look guys, there's only one option here. 1990 was the year of the Game Genie. I mean, not in the United States, but you have to admit that it definitely made a big impact when it was first announced. Nintendo was quick to sue, but it's only a matter of time before this thing hits store shelves for anybody to buy. And then, a long time into the future, video games will ditch cheat codes altogether, effectively killing any market for the Game Genie. But hey, what do I know? I'm just the voice that hosts these award shows. Speaking of cool hardware, NEC's incredible Turbo Express picked up the Best New System of the Year award. It's a little device that plays all the TurboGrafx 16 cards. It also has a TV tuner, just in case you want to watch Beverly Hills 90210 on the go. Because it debuted this year. Remember? The only downside, those batteries die in like 15 minutes. Yikes. Also, let's just give the Sega Genesis a big round of applause for winning the best video game system for the second year in a row. Okay, no round of applause. Come on guys, you gotta work with me here. Fine, you're gonna be difficult. Well, 2 can play at that game. Because next up, we have the most challenging video game of the year. These are games that are even harder to figure out than who killed Laura Palmer. Am I right? But seriously, the hardest game of the year was clearly Phantasy Star 2. Now, you may remember that the original Phantasy Star was named the most challenging game of last year, so this marks the second win in a row for Sega. You know what's even more challenging? Sega somehow figured out how to win an award for a game that came out in 1988 in a 1989 award show. But hey, I didn't write this thing. If you're sitting there wondering what game had the best graphics of 1990, then look no further than Strider on the Genesis. The EGM editors couldn't stop raving about how arcade perfect the game was, all the way down to the independent scrolling backgrounds and huge full-screen bosses. On a similar note, Eastbook 1 and 2 took home the prize for best background music and sound in a video game. This is a deserved win, as the TurboGrafx disc has some of the best video game music this host has ever heard. Seriously good stuff. Check it out. It'll be on YouTube in like 25 years. But you know what we don't have to wait for? The best role-playing video game category, of course. That's right, we're finally to the categories you care about. The big awards. The stuff everybody will be talking about tomorrow. And when it comes to RPGs from 1990, it really came down to a choice between Phantasy Star 2 on the Genesis and Eastbook 1 and 2 on the TurboGrafx. Both games have already taken home statues today, so what's it gonna be? And the winner is Eastbook 1 and 2. EGM loved the cinemas, the voice acting, the music, the story, and the fact that it's 2 games in 1. I guess Phantasy Star was just too tough for Sushi X. Let's see, I think we have another genre-specific category here somewhere. Maybe action game? Nah, there are too many of those. Could it be puzzle game? Nah, it's 1990, there are like 3 of those. Oh, I know, maybe shoot 'em up. I mean, those things are crazy popular these days. Nope, EGM had no love for the year's great shooters. Oh, here it is, the best sports-themed game, which goes to Super Monaco GP by Sega. Hang on, there's some controversy here. The name's been crossed out and rewritten a whole bunch of times with a note saying something about it not being conventional sport. I just gotta step in here and say I'm sorry, but racing is indeed a sport, and this game is definitely deserving of a win. Alright, so the only thing standing between us and the Game of the Year awards is this category looking at sequels. Last year, this award went to Mega Man 2. So, will we see a new series take its place in 1990? Maybe Eastbook 2, Ninja Gaiden 2, Phantasy Star 2, Castlevania 3, or, I don't know, Gremlins 2. All would have been great picks, but they went with Mega Man 3. Yeah, they were boring this year. But hey, they loved the twist ending and the Blue Bomber's mechanical dog. Maybe if Ryu Hayabusa had gone into battle with the mechanical dog, things would have worked out a little differently.
Time for? Who knew going back to college meant all this typing? Who's got the time?
But it's time for Honey Nut Cheerios.
Oh, you mean Psych 101.
It's time to tempt your tummy
Golden honey and crunchy nuts.
with a taste of nuts and honey. It's a honey of it all.
A plus. B. Oh.
It's Honey Nut Cheerios.
She was beautiful, wealthy, and powerful, but she was afraid of love.
If you of all people sleep alone, it must be by choice.
She was seduced by a mysterious stranger.
How much you know about your husband, Lynn?
I know I love him.
Now she was caught in a marriage made for murder.
The man studies up on me, and then he moves in for the kill.
Lloyd Bridges, Stephanie Powers, she was marked for murder next.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is unexpected. Apparently Nintendo didn't like me making fun of them for all those lawsuits, so they sued me. I mean, that's what they do. I guess I should have seen it coming. Alright, I think it's time we rip that band-aid off, because we're finally to the part of the show where we're going to start talking about the very best of the best. Starting with the best handheld game of the year, because apparently there's no way a Game Boy game could be considered for the overall game of the year. That would be crazy. Anyway, the handheld game of the year is Atari's incredible Blue Lightning on the Lynx. This game is so much fun, and EGM raved that it's the first really effective use of scaling in a home system. And you know what Atari should do next? Just hear me out. If for some reason down the road they decide to do the math and make a 64-bit system, they should make a Blue Lightning sequel be the flagship game for their CD add-on. That's a billion-dollar idea just right there. Feel free to steal that from me, Atari. Now, if you're looking for a great 8-bit action game, then look no further than the game of the year for the Nintendo Entertainment System, Castlevania 3: Dracula's Curse by Konami. This game is incredible. It's full of different characters and endings, and I don't know about you, but I think it would make a great animated series. You know what would also make a great show? The best game of the year for the TurboGrafx 16, which goes to Ninja Spirit. This was one of the few games to snag a perfect 10 out of 10 from EGM, and it just narrowly beat out Eastbook 1 and 2 for the top prize. But guess what I'm saying is that this was a pretty great year for the TurboGrafx. In fact, it was a pretty great year for gaming in general, as you're going to find out with our final category, the best game of the year, full stop. And the winner is... oh, this is exciting. I'm like all sweaty. Okay. And the winner is Strider by Sega. With its explosive graphics and crisp detail, Sega has supported the Genesis translation of this arcade mega hit beautifully. This is a game you can play endlessly and never get bored. And they specifically named Strider Hero as one of the coolest new characters of the year. I mean, they didn't actually have that category this year, so you're just gonna have to imagine it, but he won it in spirit. Guys, I think that pretty much brings us to the end of another award show. I don't have any more statues to hand out, so stop looking at me with those eyes, Shadow of the Ninja. I know you're awesome, but how do you expect to compete with Ninja Gaiden 2 and Ninja Spirit in the same year? Anyway, this was the year when we got sued by Nintendo. CD Technology started taking over, and we all learned that Heiankyo Alien is a really tough name to say. What were they thinking? Honestly, I think the only way to end this show is with the most inspirational quote of the year. Yo, sound the bell, school is in, sucka. You can't touch this. My name is Cyril, and this has been the Best and Worst Award Show. See you next year, and keep playing. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Award Show. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we're going to post new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday through the rest of 2018. So here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite game of 1990? This was a year filled with huge sequels like Mega Man 3 and Ninja Gaiden 2, but I'm a big fan of the year's original games like Strider and Ninja Spirit. There were so many great games that year, so I can't wait to see your picks in the comments below. In the meantime, we'll be back tomorrow with a review of Toki, along with a look at the 1991 awards on Thursday. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.